The silence before the storm, the galaxy was never truly quiet. Trade routes glowed with the trails of freighters. Warships patrolled their borders, and countless voices filled the void with messages, warnings, and deals. To the alien races of the Council, the constant noise of communication was proof of order, proof of life. Silence was unthinkable. Silence meant danger. That was why the silence struck like a knife. It began at the edge of the Orion sectors. Outposts that once pulsed with chatter went dark. Merchant convoys stopped reporting in. Patrol ships sent for scouting never returned. At first, the Council thought it was a technical fault, some storm of radiation or a collapse in the relay networks. But when engineers checked, they found nothing wrong. The relays were fine. The stations were simply gone. Within 3 days, the silence spread like a disease. Whole clusters fell quiet. 1,000 voices went dark. The council chambers on Eranos, Prime boiled with fear and anger. Admirals shouted for fleets to be dispatched. Traders demanded compensation for their lost goods. Spies whispered of secret weapons, of an enemy returning. No one agreed on the cause, but all agreed on one truth. Something was moving in the dark. On the 6th day, the first survivor appeared. A single corvette limped into the border station of Valar's Gate. Its hull was blackened, broken open in places as if a giant hand had crushed it. Emergency crews rushed aboard, pulling out burned and bloodied crew. Only 3 were alive, and, of those 3, only one could speak. The alien officer, eyes wide with terror, whispered 4 words before he collapsed into silence. A human dreadnought. Returned. The words spread faster than light. Across the council worlds, officials laughed at first. Humans? That savage, reckless species had burned themselves out centuries ago. Their colonies were ashes, their fleets destroyed in the last war. No trace of them remained. At least that was what history claimed, but history was full of lies. The council called an emergency session. Elder diplomats, scarred admirals, and young ambitious rulers gathered in the great chamber. Holograms of dead fleets and silent sectors glowed above them. Admiral Syrinx of the Veyron spread his claws against the table and hissed, "If it is true, then we face the most dangerous enemy this galaxy has ever known. We must gather our fleets before it grows worse." An old Kale scholar shook her head slowly. The humans were destroyed. I studied their history myself. Their war machines were mighty, yes, but they are extinct. Nothing survives extinction. The chamber shook with argument, but deep down, fear gnawed at all of them. Because in the stories told to alien children, there was always a monster called humanity. The monster that never gave up. The monster that fought wars it could not win, and still found a way to win them. For a time, the council tried to dismiss the tale. They blamed pirates, rogue fleets, ancient automated weapons. But the silence continued to spread. More sectors fell. Whole fleets dispatched to investigate vanished without a trace. At the border of the Trillion territories, an entire armada of 30 ships disappeared. The last transmission they sent was a simple scream of static, cut off by crushing silence. Rumors spread in the streets of alien cities. Miners in asteroid belts swore they had seen a shadow larger than a moon moving across the stars. Traders whispered of an ancient warship drifting without crew, its eyes burning red. Some even claimed it was alive, hunting those who came near. But the most chilling rumor was the one that spread among soldiers. They said the dreadnought was not empty, that inside its metal heart, a human voice still commanded it. On the 9th day, the silence reached the mid-rim worlds. Panic swept across the council. Refugees flooded the core planets. Every race remembered what it had once cost to fight the humans. Billions of lives, whole worlds destroyed, fleets torn apart. And now, they wondered if all those sacrifices had meant nothing. In the darkness between stars, something stirred. A lone patrol frigate of the Voran Confederacy drifted along its route, sensors sweeping the void. The crew were nervous, speaking in hushed tones, glancing at their instruments too often. Their captain, a hard-faced alien with years of service, tried to calm them. "There is nothing out here," he said. Ghost stories do not kill fleets. Stay sharp, but do not let fear guide you. The words had barely left his mouth when the ship's lights flickered. Instruments went dead. The crew shouted in confusion as every system failed at once. And then, out of the void, it appeared. At first, they thought it was a station, some massive abandoned structure drifting in darkness. But then the shape moved. A warship, vast as a small moon, slid into view. Its hull was scarred and ancient, covered in burns and fractures, but it was whole. Lines of glowing red lights ran across its body, and at its core, a single giant cannon gleamed faintly. The crew froze. Even without records, even without names, their instincts told them what it was. A dreadnought. The silence spread again as their comms went dead. Their last message to the galaxy was never words, never warning, just a scream of terror before the darkness swallowed them. Back in the council chamber, alarms echoed across the walls. A new signal had been detected. A warship of impossible size had entered known space, and in every corner of the galaxy old fears awoke. The silence before the storm had ended. The storm itself was coming. The shadow of the dreadnought. The dreadnought did not attack. It simply drifted. Like a predator in the deep sea, it moved slowly, almost lazily, but every fleet that came close never returned. Whole squadrons disappeared into the black. Their final transmissions were nothing but static or broken screams. The Council's admirals were divided. Some argued it was an ancient war machine, running on its own, a ghost ship that destroyed anything near. Others feared something worse, that it was awake, guided by a mind, a purpose. On the border station of Vera 9, hundreds of officers crowded around a holomap. A glowing red sphere marked the regions of silence. Every day the sphere expanded, swallowing stars like a spreading wound. Admiral Cyric stared at it with narrowed eyes. "It is not random," he muttered. "It is moving in a line, a straight path, toward us." His second-in-command flicked her tail nervously. "A ship that size cannot drift so perfectly. Someone is steering it." The admiral said nothing, but his claws tapped the table, restless, tense. The first encounter. The council finally decided to send a large fleet to intercept. 50 warships gathered from 5 different species. It was a show of unity. A wall of steel and fire meant to crush fear. The fleet approached the dreadnought near the dark system of Kalor's rift. At first, the massive ship did nothing. Its colossal body hung in silence, the scars of old battles carved deep into its hull. One alien captain whispered across the comms, "It looks dead." But then the lights flickered. Lines of crimson bled to life across the warship's armor, like veins filling with fire. A deep, resonant hum echoed across the void, so low it shook the bones of every crew member. The dreadnought turned. In that moment, the fleet realized its mistake. The ship had not been drifting. It had been hunting. Weapons placed. The council's ships fired everything they had, missiles, beams, torpedoes. Explosions lit the darkness like a false sunrise. But when the light faded, the dreadnought still stood, untouched. Its shields had absorbed the storm like rain against stone. Then, without effort, it struck back. A single pulse of energy burst from its main cannon. One council battleship larger than cities was simply gone. Not broken, not burning, gone. Vaporized in less than a second. Panic swept the fleet. Captains shouted for retreat. Admirals screamed orders, but fear drowned reason. The dreadnought moved forward. One slow, inevitable glide. Its shadow covered them, and one by one, ships vanished into silence. Only 3 survivors escaped, their vessels crippled, engines burning. They fled back to the mid-rim with their tail, and what they reported chilled even the boldest commanders. They swore that as their ships ran, a voice came across their comms, a human voice, calm, cold, speaking in perfect standard. "Run, if you wish, it makes no difference." Whispers in the dark. When the survivors returned, the council exploded into chaos. Entire worlds rioted. Citizens demanded protection. Fleets demanded retreat. Merchants whispered of abandoning the outer sectors entirely, but among the chaos, old stories began to resurface. In hidden archives, scholars dug through dusty records of the human wars. They spoke of dreadnoughts, massive ships, each commanded by a captain who would rather die than surrender. They were said to fight like extensions of their crew's rage, combining human instinct with machine precision. And now, one had returned. Some elders claimed this ship was called Nemesis, the last human dreadnought. According to legend, it had vanished after the final battle, disappearing into uncharted space. Some believed its captain had sworn vengeance until the end of time. Others said it carried a weapon so powerful it could wound stars themselves. No one knew the truth. But the fear was enough, the patrol's discovery. Meanwhile, far from the Council's core, a lone alien patrol ship picked up a strange reading. Its crew hesitated, but their captain ordered pursuit. They tracked the signal to a broken moon, half shattered and drifting in silence. There, in the shadow of stone and dust, they saw it again, the dreadnought. This time it was closer than any ship had dared approach. Its hull loomed like a mountain, its scars glowing faintly. Strange symbols, human writing, were burned across its side, old yet defiant. The patrol crew tried to scan it, but their systems glitched. Every attempt to probe the ship ended in failure. Then their lights dimmed, their engines stuttered. The dreadnought's gravity field pulled them in, dragging them like prey into the shadow of the beast. Inside the patrol ship, the crew screamed. Their captain ordered reverse thrust, but the ship would not obey. And then, in the dead silence of their failing comms, a new sound came. Breathing. Slow, human breathing. The crew stared at one another in horror. Someone was alive inside. The spreading fear when the patrol ship vanished, the Council finally realized the truth they had been avoiding. This was no ghost machine, no derelict relic. This was something alive. An admiral whispered the words none wanted to hear. The humans have returned, and in the dark halls of the galaxy, across worlds and stations, those words spread like fire. Whole species froze in dread, for in the memory of the galaxy there was one truth above all. The humans never lost, and now their shadow had fallen once more across the stars. The forgotten enemy. The council chamber was heavy with silence. The massive hologram of the dreadnought hovered above them, its scarred hull, its red lights, its endless shadow. No one spoke at first. Even the youngest delegates, who had only heard of humans in bedtime legends, felt an ancient fear rising in their hearts. Finally, an old scholar of the Kale race broke the silence. Her voice trembled, but every word carried weight. You do not understand. We told ourselves humans were gone. We wanted to believe it. But they are not a legend. They are not ghosts. They are history. Our history. And history does not die so easily. The chamber buzzed with unease. Many had laughed at the idea of humans, dismissing them as savages who burned themselves out in their wars. But the elders remembered differently. They remembered the human wars. The old records in hidden archives, forbidden recordings were brought out. They were old, faded, but still terrifying. The first showed a battle between a united alien fleet of 200 ships and a single human armada. Alien weapons lit the void with fire. Yet the humans did not fall back. Their ships, though smaller, moved with frightening precision. Where one ship burned, two more pressed forward. Where defenses collapsed, humans fought hand to hand, boarding enemy vessels with nothing but steel and fire in their eyes. Another recording showed the infamous siege of Archon Station. For 30 days, alien fleets surrounded it. For 30 days, humans starved, bled, and still fought. On the 31st day, when the aliens thought victory was theirs, the humans opened the station's hangars and launched a counterattack so furious it shattered half the besieging fleet. The council delegates watched in horrified silence. These were not myths. These were facts. The nature of humanity, do you see? The Kale scholar asked. It was never their weapons that made them dangerous. It was never their numbers. It was what they were, Admiral Cyrix hissed. And what were they? The scholar's eyes darkened. They were stubborn. They never surrendered. Where other species saw defeat, humans saw one more chance. They fought in burning ships, on broken worlds, even with their bare hands. You could kill a human, but you could never make them stop fighting. A chill fell over the chamber. The younger races shifted uncomfortably, suddenly understanding why their elders had always spoken of humans with both fear and respect. The solar spear, but the worst memory was yet to come. One of the surviving admirals stood and spoke. His voice was hard, but there was a tremor beneath it. The dreadnought you face may not be just a warship. In the final years of the human wars, they built weapons unlike anything we had ever seen. One of them was called the solar spear. The chamber erupted with noise, shouts, gasps, denials. But the admiral continued. The solar spear could pierce the heart of a star. With a single strike, they could destabilize a sun, turn it into a storm that destroyed entire systems. We thought those weapons lost when humanity fell. But if this dreadnought carries even one, then no fleet can stop it. The fear in the room was almost alive. For the first time, the council realized they were not facing a relic. They were facing the possibility of extinction. The survivors' testimony to confirm their fears. They brought in one of the survivors of the Kalor's Rift battle. The alien soldier was broken, trembling, his skin scarred by burns. He barely had the strength to speak, but when he did, his words froze every heart. I heard it, a voice, a human voice. It spoke as if the war had never ended, as if centuries had not passed. It told us to run, and then it laughed. No one moved. The soldier's eyes filled with tears. You do not understand. I looked into its shadow and I felt it, not just a machine, a mind, a will, alive, waiting. Humans are not gone. One of them still fights. The council chamber broke into chaos. Some demanded retreat, abandoning the outer sectors to save the core. Others shouted for total war, to gather every ship in the galaxy and strike before it was too late. But deep down, all of them knew the truth. They had forgotten their oldest enemy, and now that enemy had returned. The rumors of more, and as fear spread, so did rumors. Some claimed the dreadnought was not alone. That deep in uncharted space, more human ships slept, waiting for the right time to awaken. Others said the humans had never truly died, that they had hidden, rebuilding in secret for centuries. One thing was certain. If even one human captain had survived, then the galaxy was no longer safe. In the dark corners of the council chamber, whispers grew louder. The legends were true. The forgotten enemy is awake. The storm has only begun. Far away, drifting through the void, the dreadnought stirred. Its lights glowed brighter. Inside, something moved. And somewhere deep in its heart, a faint but steady human heartbeat echoed through the endless dark. The awakening, the dreadnought drifted in silence. For days it had remained still, as if waiting. Alien scouts circled from a distance, too afraid to get close. The council's fleets gathered at safe ranges, their weapons armed but their commanders hesitant. No one dared to strike first. Inside the ship, darkness ruled. Its vast halls stretched like endless cathedrals of steel, silent but alive. Machines older than empires hummed faintly. Red lights pulsed through corridors like the slow beat of a heart. And in the deepest chamber of all, a single cryopod stood. Frost clung to its surface. Beneath the ice, a figure rested. Human, the system stirred. Warning codes flashed. Ancient protocols written long ago were triggered. Cryostasis release initiated. The pod hissed, ice cracked, steam rose, and the silence broke. The captain wakes. The human inside gasped for breath, his chest rising sharply as life returned. His eyes snapped open, sharp, cold, and alive with fire. Muscles long frozen trembled, but his mind was steady. Slowly he pushed the pod open and stepped into the darkness. The ship's AI greeted him at once. Its voice was deep, metallic, yet strangely respectful. "Captain Arik Vale, you have been in stasis for 312 years. Systems report 90% functionality. Enemy presence detected, awaiting orders." The man stood still, for a moment absorbing the words. His face was scarred, his jaw hard, his gaze like steel. He did not ask where he was. He did not ask what year it was. He only asked one question: who threatens humanity now? Echo. Across the galaxy far outside, alien fleets shivered as new signals burst from the Dreadnought. Energy surged across its massive body. Shields rose, glowing like burning suns. Weapons that had slept for centuries awoke, humming with raw power. On every alien ship, alarms screamed. Admirals shouted for retreat, but before their orders could spread, the Dreadnought moved, not drifting, not waiting, moving with intent. Its engines burned like a rising star. It was awake. The first strike a trillion cruiser, bold or foolish, fired first. A storm of plasma bolts roared toward the Dreadnought. For a second, the void lit up with fire. But when the flames cleared, the Dreadnought still stood untouched. Its shields rippled, then hardened as though mocking the attack. From within, Captain Vale's voice echoed through the void, broadcasted on open channels in perfect alien standard. "This galaxy took everything from us. You thought we were gone. But humanity does not vanish. Humanity endures." And then the Dreadnought fired. A single lance of energy ripped across the battlefield. The trillion cruiser exploded instantly, its remains scattering into dust. Every alien ship fell silent. Fear froze them. The captain spoke again, his voice calm, almost quiet, but heavy as a hammer. "You wanted silence. Now hear it." Inside the Dreadnought and the core of the ship, the AI guided systems with flawless precision. Turrets rotated, shields shifted, engines burned, all in perfect sync with the human mind that commanded it. The AI spoke again. "Captain, our stores remain full, weapons prepared. Shall we execute Operation Nemesis?" Captain Vale's lips curled into something between a smile and a snarl. "Not yet. Let them fear first." He walked through the corridors of his ship, touching the walls like an old soldier greeting his blade. Every scar, every mark, was a memory. He remembered the last war, the betrayal, the fall of humanity's colonies, the endless fire. But he also remembered his oath, that he would not die until vengeance was complete. And now, centuries later, that oath still burned. The fear spreads back in the council chamber. Chaos exploded. Reports flooded in from the battlefront. One Dreadnought, just one, had annihilated an entire fleet in minutes. Refugee ships poured into safe zones, screaming of human return. Admiral Cyrix, scales pale with fear, slammed his claws on the table. "This is no ghost, this is no relic, this is a human warlord. And if one has returned, then more may follow." The younger delegates begged for negotiation, but the elders shook their heads. No one negotiated with humans. History had taught that lesson well. One counselor whispered the words all feared to say aloud: "We are at war again." The message. Then across every star system, a new broadcast appeared. Screens flickered, comms cracked, and holograms lit. Up in markets, homes, and war rooms, Captain Vale's face appeared, stern and cold. "This is Captain Arik Vale of the Human Dreadnought Nemesis. We are not gone. We are not forgotten. For centuries you spoke of us as myths, as shadows. You called us extinct." His eyes narrowed, his voice hardened. "But humanity never dies. We wait. We endure. And now, we have returned." The message ended, and across the galaxy, silence reigned once more, not because of broken comms, but because of fear. The return of fear. The galaxy had known fear before. Wars, rebellions, plagues, every age brought some terror. But this was different. This was not chaos. This was not madness. This was silence, deliberate and crushing, spreading from one ship, the Nemesis. After Captain Vale's broadcast, millions froze in disbelief. Markets stopped. Factories fell silent. Children clung to their parents as stories once told as bedtime myths became real. Across every star system, 3 words whispered in every tongue: humans are back. The collapse of order in the council chamber, leaders fought among themselves. Some demanded immediate surrender, others demanded an all-out war, but none dared speak of peace, because deep inside, they knew the truth. Humans never accepted peace. A young delegate rose, trembling. "We cannot fight this. The Dreadnought destroyed 50 ships in minutes. What chance do we have?" An older commander snarled in response. "Better to die fighting than live under their shadow." But the words rang hollow. Even the bravest felt their courage drain when they remembered the survivors' testimony, the human voice, the human laughter. The Dreadnought moves meanwhile, the Nemesis advanced. It did not rush. It did not chase. It glided slowly, deliberately, like a predator savoring its prey. Every system it passed fell into silence. No ships dared remain. Stations evacuated before its arrival. The ship itself was a nightmare-given form. Its hull carried scars of centuries-old battles, yet it moved like it was born yesterday. Its weapons glowed faintly, restrained, as though mocking those who watched. From inside, Captain Vale observed. His eyes scanned the stars with calm focus. He did not rage. He did not boast. He simply prepared. "Enemy fleets massing ahead," the AI reported. 300 vessels, multi-species, full blockade. Vale's lips curled. 300, still not enough. The Battle of Aranos Gate. At the edge of the Council's core worlds, the last defense gathered. Hundreds of warships locked into formation, their weapons armed, their captains swearing they would not run. This was their stand. When the Nemesis appeared, the sight broke many hearts. The Dreadnought was not just large, it was colossal. It blotted out stars. Its shadow covered the entire blockade. The Council fleet opened fire first. Thousands of beams, missiles, torpedoes lit the void. The storm of light was so bright it turned night into day. But when it cleared, the Dreadnought still stood. Its shields shimmered faintly, glowing like molten steel. Not a single scratch marred its surface. Then the Dreadnought answered. Its main cannon roared, a solar spear unleashed. A beam brighter than suns pierced the void and struck the nearest star. For a heartbeat, silence. Then the star itself trembled. Its light flickered, destabilized. Waves of energy tore across the system. Ships were thrown into chaos, their engines failing as gravity screamed. The Council fleet broke instantly. Captains abandoned formation, fleeing for their lives. Some ships rammed into each other in panic. Others tried to surrender, broadcasting desperate pleas. None of it mattered. The Nemesis glided forward, untouched, unstoppable. The human's words, across every fleeing ship, across every broken channel. Captain Vale's voice came again. Calm, cold, final. You thought extinction would end us. You thought fire and silence would erase our name. But humanity never dies. We endure. We return. And now, your galaxy belongs to us. His voice echoed across every star system, carried on the Dreadnought's impossible signal. It was not a shout. It was not a scream. It was a whisper of certainty, heavier than any weapon. The fear realized. The Council worlds erupted into chaos. Some races began preparing for surrender. Others whispered of rebellion against their own leaders. Entire sectors abandoned hope. Refugees filled every safe zone, speaking of the Dreadnought as if it were a god of death, unstoppable and eternal. In secret corners, some even began to worship it, calling humanity divine, the true masters of survival, but most only trembled waiting for the next system to fall, the final silence. At the heart of the Nemesis, Captain Vale stood alone, staring at the endless stars. His hand rested on the ship's controls, steady, unshaken. The AI spoke softly. The galaxy is afraid, Captain. What are your orders? Vale's eyes narrowed. His voice was quiet, almost gentle, but laced with iron. Let them fear. Fear is only the beginning. And with that, the dreadnought vanished into jump space, leaving behind only wreckage, silence, and a galaxy too terrified to breathe. For centuries, the galaxy had told stories of humans. Now, it told only one. The humans have returned.